Hello and welcome once again to Media Musings. Currently, we've got Critical Cripple, Robert X, Dog, and Microraptor and Mama Atheist in the chat, as well as, of course, anyone who is currently lurking and or may be watching in the future. Welcome to all of you.
Yeah, good to see a few people coming over from my stream.
Yeah.
This could be an interesting topic today. Just for the time being, it's myself and Ring. Hopefully, a guest might be joining us in a little bit.
Yeah.
We hope. But unfortunately, Noodle's a bit under the weather today. So
yeah.
So
sure, I can do that.
Yep.
Oh.
So this is a bit of a change to what was originally going to be the topic of this week, because I think we were originally going to do Pirates of the Caribbean this week, weren't we?
Oh yeah, originally. Of course, we would have only been able to do the first 3 movies. Because apparently even on the streaming service that Disney owns, on Stranger Tides is not available to stream.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
While we get into that, I see a lot of people shit on Stranger Tides. I kind of like that movie, so
yeah,
it's one of my favorites of the series. But I'm sure, hopefully, you'll be able to get access to them at some point in the next week. I hope, but we'll see. So,
yeah. And of course, since, well, the thing is, yes, let's see.
Hello, by the way, hello, Amanda.
Hi, Jeff. Hi.
Oh, we can barely hear you.
It takes a second for my microphone.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it takes you through to warm up. So
sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'd actually have to slightly disagree. Because obviously the way the inauguration was put together, it was made to make a statement that, in my opinion, was successfully made. Of course, whether or not it will be followed through with remains to be seen, because, this presidency is only 4 days in.
And he's not gotten rid of COVID yet.
Talking about the inauguration wasn't flashy and big enough. I mean, there was a reason for that.
Yeah.
And I think considering the circumstances, the people that he had, I mean, I'm not a fan of Lady Gaga, but I think what she did was great. J-Lo, Amanda, what's her face, the poet was amazing. I mean, compared to what it was 4 years ago. Remember, when Trump had those dancers on, those little girls, and he refused to pay them, and they sued him.
And of course, the statement, the theme, for the inauguration was obviously a more perfect union. And this is the statement that Biden's inauguration was designed to make, and I think it made it very well, is that Biden is the president for all Americans. America is a diverse nation. Get over it.
Because it's not like, it's not like the liberals are super thrilled about him being president. We're mad about it as well. It's more exactly what Ring said. It's just about finding that middle ground and including everybody instead of the fucking white supremacist bullshit that's been the last 4 years.
Yeah. I gotta say now, I watched it live on Dave's channel a few days ago, and then maybe mine there was a couple of us who perhaps were not Americans who maybe had a bit of a take on his speech as being it all comes off as sort of meaningless sound bites to us. But as Jenny Morgan pointed out, that maybe as Americans, what he said was maybe what you guys needed to hear.
I was about to say that, as meaningless as it might have sounded to you, it really was. We needed to hear a voice of reason, one that told us that we all fucking matter. It's not, like I said, the past 4 years have been about if you're, just a Trump supporter and you're white and whatever, and having someone say, this is about all of us, and let's put this back to the way it was.
So I guess from an outsider, it's very easy for someone like myself, and I think Keeler as well, sort of someone to look at it a bit. Okay, this is sort of somewhat, this is all a bit soundbitey, and I was even was going to pass the comment, take a drink every time he says America kind of thing, but but I perhaps didn't appreciate at the time until Jenny said what she said, that what it might have meant to you guys, because just the sheer relief to many Americans, except the lunatic right of America, the sheer relief that you maybe got a voice of reason and maybe someone who's at least a little bit compassionate in the White House. Time will tell. Obviously, we'll see what he can do.
And I saw a lot of people ragging on how obnoxiously religious the entire thing was, but in my opinion, it was yes, it was obnoxiously religious, but given the circumstances, I won't necessarily hold that against them, because one, this is America. Two, a lot of the right-wing rhetoric against Biden is, he's unchristian.
And don't forget that so many of the uber religious were on Trump's side, just because all they care about is pro-life, and Trump, although he has paid for his own abortions, claims to be pro-life because he knew he could hit that base with the right. So
but
basically. Something I do want to say about that speech, though, that now maybe it's a very low bar. I accept that this is an extremely low bar, but Joe Biden, to me, in that speech, is as much as I could pick holes about it being a bit soundbitey or whatever, came across as more presidential in like 10-15 minutes than Trump did in 4 years at any point of his presidency. Biden felt like someone who was presidential, and so that I felt was, and I know it's a low bar when you're comparing it to Donald Trump.
Tusk, I will say, that didn't bother me that much, because though that could just be because I was in the military and that's what a change of command ceremony is like.
Yeah.
Well, we had.
Yeah.
It was nice to hear someone not make it about themselves. He made it about the country. With Trump, even from the very beginning, it was, I'm the only one that can fix this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm perfect, and blah, blah, blah. And that is very unpresidential, as Jeff said, and having him say that we're going, making it about all of us and saying that we're going to fix this together, and we're, I'm here for all of you. And,
So, I mean, saying we as opposed to me made a lot of difference, I feel.
Yeah.
It really did.
But, it wasn't just Biden's speech that was, the entire event was set up to emphasize this, this theme of America as a unified, diverse melting pot. Because, from the beginning, we have, Lady Gaga singing the national anthem. An artist who is famous for, being trans.
Yes.
We have,
J-Lo sang in Spanish.
Well, yeah, J-Lo sang, America, a mashup of America the Beautiful and This Land Is My Land. And also, the Kamala Harris being sworn in by Sotomayor.
Yeah, I cried. Being the only woman here, and
I think that isn't. I mean, obviously, that's that moment was, for whatever you might think of Kamala Harris, that moment is very significant in American history. That you have a woman, and not just one, but a black woman in like the second most, is, if something happens, God forbid, touch wood, it won't, but something happens to Biden, this will be your president. That is a significant thing. And I do remember back in 2009 watching Obama's inauguration, and even I was never massively thought Obama would bring that much change. I just thought the significance of that, I was moved by that. I maybe personally didn't get that same thing off of this inauguration, but I can understand why that is very moving. And obviously I'm a bit weird because I'm coming in from
Angel was 4 when Obama was first elected, and he was very excited. He understood the significance of what was happening. You talk about Kamala possibly becoming president if something happens to Biden. This is kind of a trope in media where there's a woman vice president and the president dies, and that's how we get our first woman president. And I wouldn't like that. I'd rather our first woman president be actually elected in office. It happened in House of Cards. It happened in Veep. It seems to happen a lot. And I just, as awesome as that would be, and as great I think as Kamala would be, I would rather our first female president be elected.
I'll just say, it wasn't even like the United States of America, but even in like fictional universes, anyone who's watched Battlestar Galactica, how does President Laura Roslin become president? Because everyone else in every other senior government official of the colonies was wiped out so she was the only one left.
Is it true that that Trump was in Marine One over the inauguration at one point? I think I saw that.
I think he was. I think he was off by the time of the speech, as he was.
No, I know he supposedly left in Air Force One, but I saw an article about the Marine one being up above the inauguration. They said it might have been him. I don't know though.
It may have been flying out. Whether he was in it or not, I don't know, because I thought Marine One flew him to the air and he took off to Florida, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, it took him to the plane, and then he was supposed to get on the plane and go to Florida. But I don't know.
Yeah,
just wondering.
There's I mean, obviously, I don't want to make this too much about the Orange Cheeto, because we were looking to a new day now where we don't have to really talk about him too much. But I do feel as an outsider, to me, it showed the fact that he would not attend Biden's inauguration showed what utter contempt and disrespect he had for the office of the President of the United States. When Obama was elected, now George W. Bush probably did not like anything Obama stood for. It was an antithesis for him.
Mm-hmm.
And George W. Bush, for all of his faults, at least had a great respect for the office of President of the United States and those traditions. And he was stood there right behind Obama at that ceremony.
Yeah.
Well, Obama did the same for Trump.
Obama did the same thing for Trump. And that to me,
because they're supposed to have tea beforehand.
Yeah.
He made sure that, because they're supposed to have all these binders and stuff for transition, helping to transition to the new president. Supposed to write a letter, even though supposedly Trump did actually write a letter and leave it on the Resolute desk. I'm sure it just pretty much says "fuck off" or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody will
probably
say
in crayon, but to be fair, but
fake. No, it's like, it's two words long. Fake news.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly it.
But that is to me, so if we just tie a bow on the Orange Cheeto, because we don't want to spend too much time on him, obviously.
Yeah.
But that is the overriding thing to me, that he had. Now, I know it is not an official thing that the outgoing president has to be there. I know he's under no obligation to be there. I accept that. But it is a bit of a tradition, and it just, to me, it represents how much disrespect he had for his office and the traditions. I mean, the fact that he wouldn't, there's been a tradition for decades at least, maybe over 100 years, that a portrait of the previous president was put up in the White House by the incoming president. He would not do that with Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm very sure there will. Biden, I believe, will do that for Trump, just because it's a tradition. As much as we'd like to pretend that Trump never existed. But
Stool says that he's sad and lonely now. Apparently, none of the members of Mar-a-Lago are going there anymore. Plus, he's losing all his corporate sponsors. He's losing all his donors. His bank and his tax attorneys left.
And the PGA won't use any of his courses anymore.
Yeah, apparently that hurt him more than getting impeached again. When they kicked him out, that's hilarious. Child.
But I think,
but the ceremony as a whole was a celebration of American diversity, which was a definite antithesis of what the message of the last 4 years has been, which is it's partially why I forgive the obnoxiously Christian, undertones of a lot of the speeches, is because Biden is saying, hey, we are a united country, and he was lumping in, the those Christians who would be supporting Trump with that.
Yeah.
Like even bringing Garth Brooks out to close it by singing Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, this is Biden saying, yes, that includes you to the South.
It was kind of a fuck you to January 6th too.
Yeah.
That was clearly about, white supremacy.
Yeah.
Obviously what we're dealing with here is a good piece of political theatre, and some presidents have been very, very good at that. Now, obviously I'm not saying Biden necessarily personally organized the whole thing. I'm sure this was
but, the Senate had something to do with it too, because there were there was mention of the Senate Inauguration Committee.
But I think back to, obviously, I'm a bit of a buff on the US Civil War.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that Abraham Lincoln did, and it was a brilliant piece of political theatre, is that when the Richmond fell to the Union, and it was the big thing where Lincoln visited Richmond, and it was the big thing where he would go into the Confederate White House and sit at the desk, which obviously from that thing perspective was a big yay for the Union sort of thing. One of the things Lincoln did when he came out there was got the band to play Dixie, and it was just like his little way of saying to the South, you're part of our nation again.
Or to paraphrase from Biden's inauguration speech, democracy is built on dissent, but we can't make dissent turn into disunity.
Yeah.
It's a very loose paraphrase.
I know I've been harped on more about the actual speech than the overall ceremony, but this is where I think I appreciate the as I said earlier, as I think you guys as Americans, and I obviously I know a lot of Americans through hanging out with you guys on YouTube. I've got to say I don't know any Trumpanzees, but I did feel that as kind of critical as I would have been, that's a speech that may not have flown in the UK as a piece but I do appreciate it might be what you guys needed to hear. But I don't. But my feeling is, do you feel that in decades years to come that's going to be viewed as one of the great inauguration speeches? Because I'm not personally. I'm not sure about that. I don't know your guys' take.
I think it will actually. Or at least it will be studied in schools. If not just for the, if not only for the connection with the events of the 6th,
social impact,
but also in that, in that speech, Biden is very much, and once again, this is largely because of the events of the 6th, or at least that's how it could be argued. But Biden is very much setting himself in that speech as essentially a second Lincoln, where it's his job to take, a fractured country and reforge it into a more perfect union, which is why you hear the words, a more perfect union repeated in every
could be a soundbite. When I look through, I've got a page open of like famous inauguration speeches, and sometimes it is just one quote that it will be forever remembered. And now they say about it says here the two worst speeches that this article says that were ever made by presidential inauguration was, first one was James Buchanan, who used his speech to complain that the country was so consumed in debating slavery that it was ignoring other more important issues. And he had like an 1,857 word speech. Number two on this. Any guesses?
Well, I'd like to. I know it's probably not the answer because the answer is probably Trump.
It is Trump.
But what should have been an honorable mention for worst speeches would be Taylor's.
Yeah, Zachary Taylor's one was.
Because it was a speech so bad that it killed the office holder.
That's funny.
Yeah,
shouldn't have stayed out there for so long. It was cold and wet.
But I mean, obviously, like from. I mean, you look this. Obviously, you're going through that. There's one by Reagan here, and as much as I despise Reagan could cut a good speech. I'll say that much about him. I won't read that one, but obviously, I mean, this is I criticised the thing of it all being in sound bites, but if I make this is a sound bite. I don't know how much of the rest of this speech anyone remembers, but if I say this quote, you know immediately what I'm talking about. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Does anyone remember any of the rest of that speech? I don't.
Yeah. And like during the first half of Biden's speech, he was very much, setting himself up as a second Lincoln to repair the fractured country. But then, halfway through his speech, he transitions and begins essentially channeling Kennedy, where he's talking about how difficult it will be, but we will persevere because, we're Americans.
Yeah.
So I have a question. One of the things that the Trumpists are kind of, borrowing that term from Jeff here, are coming back at us with is that on his first day in office, something like 72 or 41,000 jobs or something like that were lost. They keep coming up with a different number. How do you argue against that? Because it's not, even if it were true, I mean, you can't blame Biden for that first day.
Throw it back in their face and say what happened to the stock market in Donald Trump's first day in office.
Yeah, that's another thing. When Biden was elected, the stock market went up, and Trump keeps taking credit for that. No, dude, everybody's happy that we're going to have a real economy again.
I mean, I gotta say, and this is not just partisan politics on my part. I beg anyone to go and look this up, because this is the big thing Donald Trump has harped on about. Look at where the economy. All the economic reforms that led to recovery were under the previous administration before him, and that is not even me being partisan in this. That is objective fact.
But in regards to, I haven't looked into it. But in regards to the jobs lost, I think they're basic. I think it's talking about lost jobs is usually a talking point when people are ragging on about regulations and environmental impact.
Okay. Well, then that's up my alley. That's another thing they keep complaining about. All he signed a bunch of executive orders on his first day. Well, first of all, he's been planning these since he got elected. He knew what needed to be done, and Trump himself used executive orders like he was fucking, like he was a king or something. He thought he could write an executive order and he could get whatever he wanted.
Well, he fought an executive order was a decree.
Yeah.
Well,
He thought he could rule by decree.
And here's the thing, like people are saying, oh, Biden signed all these executive orders and he's not, and they're also like, oh, he's not really doing much. Well, the thing is, Biden understands what executive orders are actually for.
Yes. Yeah.
He understands that executive orders can easily be undone by the next president.
Yeah.
By just making another executive order. So that's why it looks like Biden.
I think obviously
getting the ball.
Yeah.
Like Biden's getting the ball rolling with his executive orders and doing what he can.
I feel this is
what Trump broke.
And then trying to do the lasting stuff through Congress.
I'll say that. Again, and I know this is more getting off the topic of the.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know this is more getting off the topic of the inauguration, but this was the big difference to me with those two men is that in 2016 when Trump ran, and even in 2020, can anyone actually name a policy of Donald Trump's in either of those campaigns? Except, I'm not talking about build the wall and all that shit, but
Muslim ban.
Really,
stopping DACA.
Was there really a plan going in from Trump? Was there a list of policies?
He didn't even have a plan this time.
I'm going to dog whistle my way into ultimate power and then become president for life. That's my plan.
The Republican National Convention, when they do that, they're supposed to come out with, points of what the president is going to do. And they
effectively a manifesto.
Didn't have anything this time. They just took what he had last time and said, "Okay, well, we're just going to keep doing this."
It's generally like similar British politics that the party conferences or whatever. Generally, in the run up to election, they what goes in then is the election manifestos, which is effectively what I suppose what the national conventions do as well. And this is what I never, there was no there's no Trump manifesto or anything at all, of policies or anything, and that's where I a big difference, and it does suggest to me that Biden had a plan coming in where Trump was more like, let's just get elected and see what the fuck we do from there. I think one of the
jobs lost thing, by the way, it was 11,000. It wasn't 42 or 71 or whatever, and they're talking specifically about him shutting down the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah, I was definitely, very sure that it had something to do with some of his environmental stuff.
Which were necessary. Go look on my channel and watch my shit. Fucking Trump screwed us up so bad, not just our country alone, but globally.
I've got to ask you about this then, Mandel, as you're on here. The fact that one of the first things his executive orders was to get America back into the Paris Accords.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure to you is progress. On the first day, it was necessary, and I can argue about whether the Paris Accords go far enough or whatever, but
it doesn't.
it doesn't go anywhere near enough. But it's it's possibly better than at least the first day can try and get us back into back into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that the Paris Accord pretty much fails without the United States involved. So by pulling us out, and like Jeff said, it doesn't go far enough. I did a video on the three accords, Montreal, Kyoto, and Paris, and I talked about their good points and their failings. And Paris is only a step; it's definitely not enough. But it's something that we have to do. We have to work globally, and it is a step in the right direction. But by taking us out of it, Trump screwed the entire rest of the world. One thing that's really driving me nuts are the people like Cruz and that one chick, I can't remember her name.
Green?
No, not Green. The other one. It's like Bowden or something like that.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
the Colorado lady who was
her.
who was tweeting
Back in
Pelosi's location during the invasion.
God, she's insane. She was. If you saw her, the day of the when on the 6th, she was like screaming on the Congress floor and stuff. But these people, they both said that they care more about Americans, or they care more about the people in their own constituents than they do about the people of Paris. And it's so fucking stupid. Like the Paris Accord, it's been around for almost 6 years now. To not know that the basic amount of facts that it's not about Paris, why the fuck would it be about like it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
And of course, and of course the first Treaty of Versailles was the one, was all about France.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and had nothing to do with Britain recognizing America's independence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and ending the Revolutionary War.
Well, they wouldn't know that either, though. I'm sure they think that. So it amazes me how incredibly dumb these people are that we've elected to public office. I can see Boehner, or whatever her name is, the Colorado woman, because she is just a dumb fuck crazy person. But Cruz is a horrible piece of shit. But I didn't think he was that stupid. I didn't. So.
America, c'est un country français de le Treaty de Versailles.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take this off the inauguration topic. What did you think about the Bible? How about that?
The massive Catholic Bible. Well, I mean, Biden's a Catholic.
Yeah.
And swearing in on the Bible is, just something that, because you've got to be performably Christian, or at least performably religious.
Yeah.
To get into the presidency.
Sucks. What if you were sworn into office, what would you put your hand on, Ring?
Now, if I wanted to be serious, I'd probably do it on the Constitution.
Oh, that's good.
If I were being cheeky, either Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or Dune.
Oh, I always thought I'd do it on Cosmos, on Sagan's Cosmos, because it kind of was my anthem when I was younger. Yeah. But it was, I admit, it gave me a bit of a stutter step because it felt like it was kind of pandering a little bit, like too obvious. Like there was clearly pandering the whole time, but it was a little too obvious bringing that huge fucking Bible out. So I don't know.
Well, doesn't the Catholic Bible have like 72 books in it?
Yeah, we like our yeah. I was raised Catholic. It's a lot.
Yeah, so obviously, a Bible with more books will be bigger.
Yeah, I just didn't. I don't know. Maybe it was like a what's it? Like a family Bible. It looks like something that's been around for a long time. So
it looked old. So I would bet that it was probably an old family Bible.
Mm-hmm. I also appreciated the unity and the relationship between Jill and Joe.
Yeah.
Compared to what we've had, in the past 4 years, because they clearly love and respect each other, and she is an amazing, incredible woman on her own. And then was it Tucker Carlson complaining because somebody said you need to call her Dr. Biden, like, but I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, Tucker, I can't satisfy my wife because she thinks getting wet is a disease, Carlson.
Yeah. It's
just, no, wait, that was Ben Shapiro.
That was what's his face?
Yeah, that was Ben Shapiro.
Well, they all kind of blend together. It's fine.
Yeah. And not only was it just, not only were all the speeches talking about how Americans as a diverse need to come together, and but they, not only did they give lip service to diversity and minority representation, but they kind of backed it up a little, at least, for the camera.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, they had Lady Gaga singing the national anthem. They had, Jennifer Lopez. They had J-Lo singing, a mashup of America the Beautiful and This Land Is My Land.
Mm-hmm. The poet laureate.
The poet laureate who, basically spent 10 minutes just roasting American racism.
Yes,
which was glorious.
Such a beautiful way, though.
It
was awesome. And she's so young too, isn't she? She's 20 or 22 or something like that. That was incredible.
And because that's kind of why I like I said, that's why I forgive the obnoxious religiosity of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's part of the bone they were throwing to conservatives.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, and while it was obnoxiously religious, aside from the invocations, which I very well excuse because they're invocations given by priests and a priest and a pastor.
Yeah.
Aside from the invocations, that while they were, obnoxiously religious, they weren't overtly Christian.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
Here's a question. It's not, sorry that it's a little off topic, but what do you think about us continuing to reach across the aisle like we do? And because the Republicans never do it. The Republicans stand firm and say, fuck you to the Democrats. But when we're in charge, they keep they keep telling us, oh, well, we need unity. We need to move on.
Yeah.
You need to work with us. And we've always done that. We've always capitulated to them. But because we do that, we don't get done what needs to get done. We get blocked, we get shut down. We end up,
I often
we need to.
Yeah, sorry, I often get the feeling that if Obama had wanted to buy his mother Mother's Day present, the Republicans would have found a way to filibuster that.
Yeah.
It's I mean,
I think we need to stop, honestly.
Yeah, it is really pathetic, I feel, of a political party to just obstruct everything like that. It is. I don't get this. Maybe it's an anathema because even within British politics or whatever, that is not done. I mean, there'll be opposition to bills and stuff. I think probably the worst we ever come with it was the ban on fox hunting, with the House of Lords kept sending the bill back before it finally got passed. But if I get back onto a media thing, I want to actually share something, and is it? Do you feel that this may end up being the most famous, lasting image of
I see
this
where you're going.
inauguration?
Yeah.
I love that so
That's the
much.
greatest. That's the greatest
Somebody needs to
irony.
get Bernie a hat, yo. You lose all your heat from your head, and he's bald. No, I love that.
Yeah.
I love it so fucking much.
And can I share another one quickly, just for
Okay.
someone in the community? Okay.
I have to admit, though, as much as I wanted Bernie to be president, if Bernie had been president, we wouldn't have gotten that image.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I will have to say that Bernie being Bernie being the head of the Senate Budgetary Committee, he'll probably do a lot more good in that role than he would have as president, at least at this time.
we love you, Neil. We love you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'll stop that.
But and that of course is like one of the greatest ironies of life, is that after this, very masterfully and carefully crafted statement that America is a diverse country, you will get over it. The thing that will live on in culture will be the Bernie memes.
Yeah. And I got to say, Manda, I love the one you shared of the Battle of Hoth. Bernie sat there.
Somebody get me a tauntaun to climb into.
Yeah, one of my favorites is Bernie sitting on the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that one. That's awesome.
I saw one of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin and if you ever seen the movie poster, Steve Martin sat next to John Candy, and next to them they put Bernie.
Well, heck, I saw one where they turned it into a video of Bernie singing a sea shanty.
Yeah, I sent that to Chad. That was hilarious.
Yeah. But speaking of singing, there is one thing.
I'm going to share one more. Okay, I'm going to share
I got
one more
for you, Jeff, to share too. Let me send it to you.
Yeah, I'll share one more. Okay, Jen Will's stream last night. If you look,
this is Bernie.
So you got Jen, Will, Jenny, Granny, Kitty, and Bernie.
And Bernie's got the Sydney Opera House behind him.
That was taken before I joined that stream, by the way. So
I sent you one, Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I will share that, man. So just give me a sec. I will share this.
Robbie sent that one to me. I love that one.
He kind of does look like Obi-Wan sat there almost, doesn't he? Like, that's no moon, it's a space station.
Yeah, but anyways, speaking of singing, there is one quibble I have with the Garth Brooks rendition of Amazing Grace, and that's aside from the sing-along attempt. It's the other verse that he picked to sing, because Amazing Grace has like 12 verses that you can pick from.
Yes.
And then I get why he did it, but and this is the quibble like that I have with most of the inauguration, because I can forgive the religiosity bit. What I can't quite forgive as much is the Wilsonian manifest destiny-ish. of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, I get why you'd pick that verse, because it's, it's sending out the message that America will endure through this hard time of COVID and insurrection. I get why you'd pick that. But the line bright shining as the sun does give off those city on a hill Wilsonian vibes.
Yeah, I guess I can see that.
Yeah.
In terms of showing how diverse this country is, and kind of pushing that rhetoric, the thing is that this country is just it's the way it's headed. I mean, we're becoming much more Hispanic. We're becoming, more women are becoming into power. Like, it's the way that our country is headed. And, we need to have people that are not, rich white men have a voice now. And that's what they're afraid of. But the problem is that it's happening anyway. There's nothing that they can do about it. And as much as, I support the Democrats and all, they kind of have to go in that direction.
Yeah. Like, so, because it is a tightrope to walk, where you have to say, okay, we're a diverse nation, get over it, Proud Boys.
Yeah.
But then you also have to, reforge the create a more perfect union. So you do have to appeal to that, to that American myth of America as maybe not a Christian nation, but a spiritual and religious nation, of America as the shining example of America, the country that perseveres.
Can I read a quote out for you? See if you. But I think again, this is possibly about unity. See if you can. It's not necessarily got a religious undertone to this, but see if you know whose speeches. But every difference of opinion is not a difference of principle. We have called by different names, brethren, of the same people. We are all Republicans. We are all Federalists. Do you know that one?
No.
Yeah.
That is from the inaugurational speech of Thomas Jefferson.
Ah.
Fuck Thomas Jefferson, by the way.
Yeah, I know you. Yeah, I know, because you've seen a blimmin' musical. You think Hamilton's better.
No,
yeah.
Jefferson wasn't in Hamilton, was he?
Yeah, he was.
They were massive rivals.
It was Lawrence.
Yeah,
the guy who played Lafayette played Jefferson too. That's right. I totally forgot. Sorry, but it wasn't like, I don't know. That's because he said something about what he's doing on his plantation. It's referring to him fucking Sally Hemings and all that stuff. That's right. Sorry.
Okay, I'll read one more, because I'm just going through these. I am loath to close. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained it, it must not break our bonds of affection, the mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union. When touched again, as surely they will be, the better angels of our nature.
Oh, I know that. I know who that is. Fuck. Who is it? Jeff.
Okay. That was 1861.
I know that.
I'm going to Lincoln.
That was Abraham Lincoln's first inaugural speech.
I know I'd heard that before. I just didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
Well, I think quite often the better angels of our nature is like the most known little soundbite of that. Let's go.
I'm not sure that there's going to be anything specific that he said that'll end up being a famous. I think it was just the overall.
Maybe a more perfect union may ring out down the years. I don't know.
That's the thing is, it was in every single speech of that inauguration because it's from the Constitution.
Yeah, it's not. Those weren't his words.
Yeah.
Parroting something that's already
okay. I'll read another one then. With malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace amongst ourselves and with all nations.
No, I don't know that one.
Once again, I think maybe Lincoln.
That was Lincoln's second term, yes.
Yep.
Okay. Never before have men tried to form so vast and formidable as an experiment of that as administrating the affairs of a continent under the forms of a democratic republic. Upon the success of our experiment much depends, not only as regards to our own welfare, but to the regards to the welfare of mankind.
Is that Washington?
Nope.
It's somewhere close to that time, isn't it?
No.
Bit later.
Really?
But bit later than Washington.
I'm gonna guess Teddy Roosevelt.
Correct.
I said the other one.
Yeah.
It's close.
Okay. I'll do one more then, because so first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah. And I will say, to go on, the full quote after that says, nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. But the thing everyone knows is the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Yeah.
So maybe, when I was looking back at this thing saying this is all sound bites.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know that it's the sound bites that often are remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe in 30 or 40 years, a more perfect union will be that soundbite that is remembered by Biden. We don't know. It's early days yet, but
what's Trump's soundbite? Only I can do this. Build a wall.
Probably pussy grabbing on a foot, but
yeah.
All I can think about is that time that everybody at the UN laughed at him. That brings me joy. Sorry.
And it's Biden it may not be, Biden's inauguration maybe wasn't the political media that we deserve, but it was the one that we need right now.
Yes. Yeah. And quite often I will say that this wasn't an inaugural let me find it here. This isn't an inaugural speech, but this was not from the inauguration, but here is, you'll know from the first few words of this which speech I'm quoting. This is a speech that the man who said it at the time thought was a pretty awful speech.
Yeah.
But it is possibly the most now has gone down as the most famous speech in U.S. history.
7
years ago,
our fathers brought forth unto
Yeah.
this continent a new nation conceived in liberty.
Conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. Which, believe it or not, I don't know if you know the history behind that.
He wrote it on the train.
Yes. There was a speaker. Lincoln did not have a good reputation as a public speaker before that, believe it or not.
No.
He was known for waffling in his speeches and going on.
He had like a reputation of like a hick that spouted folksy wisdom.
And who was the guy who spoke between him? Everett, I think. I think his name was Edward Everett. I'm not quite sure. Who was the man who spoke before him? Who was a famous orator. He spoke for 2 hours. He was the best known public speaker in the United States at the time.
Yeah.
And then Lincoln would get up and say a few words at the end. What happened. And the famous thing is that the Gettysburg Address was met with silence at the time. It wasn't a big round of applause. It was met with silence, and Lincoln had thought that his remarks had gone down like a lead balloon. But it was more a silence of it. Everyone was having a silence of reflection.
Yeah.
And Everett himself said to Lincoln, you said more in 2 minutes than I said in 2 hours. Was his initial response. But the Gettysburg Address is possibly the most famous speech in American history. I'd say it probably is.
Yeah, it is the most famous speech.
Yeah.
Like, and the ones that come second, like, are really far behind it. Like, say the only other, like, the only ones that come close are maybe Roosevelt's Man in the Arena.
Mm.
And then the other Roosevelt's the Man in the Arena. The other Roosevelt's Fear Itself.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Kennedy's We do not do these things because they are easy. We do these things because they are difficult.
Yeah.
In this decade, we will go to the moon.
Well, another one, and can I mention my birthday?
Yes.
December 7th, 1941. A day that will live in
infamy. Yep.
Yeah. But again, a lot of the times it is those little sound bites that people remember. They don't necessarily remember the whole speech. And maybe, and my point with this is, we may not realize it now. Maybe, I mean, and a lot of this is going to depend upon Biden's presidency.
Yeah.
Maybe in years to come, that one little sound about like a perfect union, if I was to pick anything out there, a perfect union may be the soundbite that gets remembered in American history. We don't know. And a lot is going to depend on Biden's presidency itself.
Well, so actually, I will say this: the inauguration procedure will go down in history.
Mm.
What now? Here's a question, and this question will obviously be answered by how Biden's presidency turns out. Is will it go in? Will it go down in history of its own accord, or as an asterisk connected with the events of January 6th, or with, the swearing in of Kamala Harris as the first, women of color voted in as VP.
First woman, even, but woman of color. I mean, that in itself is
first woman,
historical.
first person of color, first first person with Asian heritage.
That's
and this is kind of the reason why I decided to do this episode on the inauguration is media isn't just films and literature, and
I mean, in a lot of ways, this is about political theater.
Yeah, this inauguration ceremony was very much a piece of political theater designed to send a message out to, America, the American people that we're diverse, deal with it. But especially after the events of the 6th, we knew that the eyes of the world would be on this inauguration. So this was also a message out to the world. It's America is getting America is getting its shit together. America will endure. That seems to be what the message to the rest of the world was.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like I said, I possibly didn't think much of it at the time, and I've said, I know I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but as myself and Crafty Keeler were in Dave's stream and said this whole speech is a little bit of, this is just sound bites. It wasn't impressive to me. It's when Jenny Morgan actually kind of came in and said, that might have just been sound bites to you, but especially somebody like Jenny as well, who is part of a minority that has got a lot of shit, like trans people over the last few years. That may be that's what we need. I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's I didn't appreciate that until Jenny pointed that out.
And
I think that the inauguration itself was a bit of a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
That kind of, in terms of pushing the whole it's all of us rhetoric. It was about, let's just not wipe away and forget what happened for the past 4 years, but let's start over and move forward from what happened.
And also, acknowledging that the events of the events of the 6th were our dark, our dark troubled past coming home to roost, and we need to address that. We need to address, our problems with police brutality and racism. We need to address the rights of, LGBT people to exist. And in order to forge a more perfect union, you need to acknowledge and support the breadth of the diversity that America is, and not just cater to the rich, white, evangelical base.
Yeah, because like I said before, that's not what our country is anymore. It hasn't been for a long time, but we're finally getting our voices, because it isn't. It's not just rich white and evangelicals, or even poor white and evangelicals. Our country is so much more than that.
Yeah. I think we've pretty much covered everything we could really talk about in regards to the inauguration. Oh,
Yeah.
wait. Yeah, I will say something. Especially if you watched the stream that was put out by PBS. You could definitely see that Pence got the message of what was going on, and he did not like it one bit. It's like, even with his mask, you could see him scowling like as hard as he could.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was pretty pathetic, to be honest with you.
I mean, obviously, time's going to tell with this, with how this administration is going to do.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a cynic. I don't necessarily have a lot of faith that Biden's going to change too much, but I don't know. I may be surprised. I mean, you want to be optimistic. Who knows? Biden may go on to be one of the great presidents. We don't know at this point in time.
He won't.
I seriously doubt it.
Speaking.
Compared to the last one, I seriously doubt he could do any worse than the Cheeto in chief, for the past 4 years.
After all this, talk comparing Biden to Lincoln and Biden to Kennedy, I just thought of probably a more apt comparison. So,
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, Biden is FDR. He's cleaning up the mess left by a president who was seen as largely incompetent and not good for the country. FDR was cleaning up Hoover's mess.
Yeah. Whether he'll achieve even half of what FDR achieved.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and if you actually look at FDR as a president, there's a lot of things you could criticize about the way he governed. Yeah. But FDR, certainly has a legacy as a president. Now, I mean, this is the one thing. I always think there's a big shame of what happened of Obama, because you really felt like Obama could have been one of the great presidents.
Yeah.
He ended up being a good president, I feel. But I don't know that I don't necessarily know, other than being the first black president, what his legacy is going to be. Trump has no legacy of anything proud whatsoever. He is going to be like he's
just bad.
He's going to be remembered like people like Buchanan or whatever, like some of the worst
Oh yeah, he's going to be remembered as the president who was impeached twice.
Yeah, I mean he's going to be people like Andrew Johnson
tried to kill his own vice president.
Yeah, he's going to be remembered maybe the same way Buchanan, Andrew Johnson, Martin Van Buren, whatever, is some of the sort of rather rubbish presidents that America had. And I actually think Martin Van Buren, in comparison to Trump, was fucking awesome. But again, that's a very low bar.
Yeah. But
there's definitely nothing. I mean, time is going to tell.
Yeah.
With this, I don't necessarily think Biden's going to bring about any radical changes. But I feel the last time America really had an opportunity was under Obama. But
Dog says that Obama was clouded by Trump's accusations of him not being American. There was that.
No, not massively.
Obama
I don't think.
was too moderate, and I don't know if it's because he was actually moderate or he was afraid of being, the black guy to come in and be too progressive. He way too much to the Republicans. Too many compromises, didn't go far enough with things, and he really was too moderate. And like I said, I don't know if that was him in a nutshell or if he was just trying too hard to not be what the Republicans said he was. Just like the Republicans or the GOP is now calling Biden, an extreme leftist or
good Lord. I know I could go on
I wish Biden was as far left as the Republicans make him sound.
I've said it a million times. Biden is not Democrat. He is Republican light.
If Joe Biden was a British politician, he would be part of the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
I don't even think the Labour Party in Britain is that left wing anymore. I feel we missed an opportunity under Corbyn personally.
How they can complain about a radical anything when their own base literally tried to tear apart our country and install a fascist fucking dictator. I don't understand. Like, it's such. They want to fix climate change, and they want to not deport every single immigrant that comes into our country.
I get where you're coming. I'm a little reluctant to brand Trump as a fascist. Just because I'm very careful about how I use that word.
No, he is absolutely.
I think he is. And the problem I have with it is mainly because it's a very difficult thing to do. But there's definitely elements of his fat. There's no doubt there's a huge element of his support base who are out and out fascists. Trump reminds me a lot of some very right-wing populists who may be a bit authoritarian, but I'm on the fence about the characteristics of specific characteristics of fascism to brand him that. And the only reason I'm very reluctant is I'm very conscious of the overuse of that word and the detrimental effect it can have when you have to really call out people who are fascists. Yeah. So that's only why I'm reluctant about it. But I do see why people would make that comparison, because he had an authoritarian streak and he played to. There's definitely, without a doubt, there's a good portion of his fan base that are fascists.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them who are more populist right-wing types. They remind me a lot of like the UKIPers we had a few years ago in Britain, but
media, like I said before, media is more than just books, more than just films, TV shows, and literature. Media is how people spread their messages, and the inauguration as a well-crafted piece of political theater is a good, was a good, piece of media to analyze.
Yeah. I think it was. I mean, this may be a bit more serious than like media musings normally is. This is normally a bit of fun, looking at a film or a book and talking about themes and so on. Yeah. But I think this is an important one to have, to maybe talk a bit about political theatre, which is looking, because I think this is what it goes more into, is not just the inauguration of Biden itself, but just touching a bit on what political theatre is like. And
I will say that in regards to like the United States, United States doesn't have as much, like, it doesn't engage in as much political theater as other countries, but when it does, it really does.
Yeah. I mean, I said, I mean, it's not that Britain does not have its own politicians or whatever, or elements of political theatre. As I said, that speech of Biden's probably wouldn't have played in the UK.
Yeah.
The literal definition of fascism: a governmental system led by a dictator, which he wanted to be, having complete power, forcibly suppressing the opposition, which he did, regimenting all industry, which he attempted to do, emphasizing aggressive nationalism and often racism.
Amanda, I'm going to disagree with you, but I think it needs a whole stream to talk about that, because I don't think it's a matter of just ticking a checklist off when we talk about fascism. I've got my own opinions on that, but I feel that could be another stream in itself.
Heck, I mean, I'd be happy to host the debate.
Yeah.
What, you want to debate me, Jeff?
Hold on.
Debate, or would it be a vigorous discussion?
Yeah, let's go with vigorous discussion.
Is Amanda a fascist? Amanda is whatever she wants to be.
It is whatever I tell you I am, bitch.
No, I feel it's just that I feel it's a very in-depth conversation to have, and it's probably not right for this stream.
Yeah,
sorry.
African Humanist. Hey, I did actually send you the link to this stream, but I think we're kind of not far off of I think we're getting near to the end of it, actually, but
yeah.
Well, if we have anything to shill, I got shit to shill. Well, I got one thing to shill.
Okay, yeah. Well, I do, but I'll let you go first, Amanda.
Also, closing thoughts and then shill.
My closing thoughts is bring it the fuck on, Jeff. Let's go.
Hashtag Amanda is wrong.
Oh, don't even
no.
Amanda is never wrong.
But closing thoughts about the inauguration, specifically as a piece of political theater.
I think in terms of there's necessity in political theater, especially now in the state that our country has been as obvious as it was. Yes, Math Big, don't interrupt me ever.
What was that you said, Amanda?
You fucking asshole. It was obvious, but it was necessary. It was what we needed to hear, even though it did go a little bit far with the religiosity and some of the obviousness of kind of force feeding us the look, we're diverse. But again, it was necessary, and I was appreciative of it. In fact, Angel watched the whole thing. He was glued to the TV the whole time. So that's my closing thoughts.
Like I said, I think, as I said initially, as I watched it, and as an outsider's perspective, it's probably not it's probably not necessarily the kind of thing that's gonna play here. And I feel a bit of a broken record saying this. It wouldn't have played here. Maybe it's what you guys as Americans needed to hear on the other day. And there was some good elements of trying to get the message across that America is a diverse people, where you guys, you have many different cultures and trying to go forward more as one people rather than a nation divided, which is what you've gone through over the last 4 years. With someone who has, done their utmost to divide people. That someone is now trying to actually unite people time will tell, as I've said, with this presidency, whether this will go down as one of the great inaugurations, great speeches, or whether it will just be a average one. I think a lot of that is going to be defined by how well Biden does as a president, and it's too early to say that right now.
Yeah, what I'll say is, I can forgive the over religiosity. I can, the obnoxious religiosity. This was a piece of political theater that America needed right now. And Biden made a well-crafted statement, but it's up to time to tell whether or not he follows through with the statement he crafted.
Yeah.
His actions.
We'll see.
And with that, we'll move to Schilling. Amanda?
Okay. So I haven't been doing much lately, but tonight, MathPig found a Jordan Peterson video where he talks about Greta Thunberg and how she's wrong on climate change. So we're going to, me and Dave and Robbie and maybe Steven and maybe Brian are going to tear that apart at 7 Eastern tonight. Because those in the audience that don't know, I'm a climate scientist and fuck that guy.
So I'm just putting links in the chat, but I'm doing it on my phone. So, but yeah, sub to Mama Atheist.
Like rock lobster?
Yeah.
No.
Oh well, okay. Yes, I have something to show tomorrow evening UK time, 7 p.m. UK time. That'd be 2 p.m. Eastern in the United States. And I see she's in the chat. I have the African humanists coming on for a discussion. And I'm really looking forward to this one. She's new in the community, and I think it's got some... probably going to have a very interesting story to tell. Also, I saw her on Granny's channel a few days ago. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Me, I don't like a lot of people, but I like her, so I'm excited for that.
And she says in the chat, whoop, whoop. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you. She's new in the community. Go give her channel a sub. I think she's got some very unique perspectives on religion that perhaps some of us don't have, and I think that's this is one of those things that I'm really, really looking forward to this conversation. So
that's awesome. Looking forward to it.
And some point was this. I haven't set a date yet, but maybe it might be Wednesday or Thursday, possibly this week. We'll see who's about. Last week, myself, we had a stream on my channel. Ring was in there. Well, we went through Pastor Greg Locke's Twitter account. I'm thinking of doing something similar with Kevin Sorbo's Twitter account. Looking through the insanity. Yeah,
I want to do that. I mean, I was the first one to say, before he started saying a bunch of stupid shit, I said, what did I say? I said, I fucking hate Hercules.
Yeah. But Amanda, did you not, I bet you didn't realize going into this year that Hercules versus Xena was the Twitter feed we all wanted to see.
That was amazing.
Look, I said earlier in my stream, I remember now why I had a crush on Lucy Lawless as a teenager.
So, yeah, Now here's the question: is how soon into the stream will someone say, "Bless my soul, Herc is on a roll"?
Oh God.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. And I know it's the wrong Hercules. But
And I'll just say, because I saw Amanda put it in the chat. African Humanist, you definitely should go on Math Pig's channel at some point. I'm sure he'd love to have you. And you can have a really great conversation there.
We'd love to have you. So,
but always helpful. Always happy to try and promote new people in the community. You know, so we need voices with different perspectives. So,
exactly. Good voices that we respect. So.
And as for me, if I have the spoons for it, and if I don't have anything else going on Monday, I should have another edited video out on Thursday. And as usual, barring unforeseen circumstances, Secular D&D will be on Saturday, and then Media Musings next week will be on Ip Man.
Ooh. Different.
Yeah.
I'm also going to post a link in the chat right now that I know people may be a little sick of this topic, but I'm going to post a link to a video Ring did about a week and a half ago on his analysis on the Capitol attack, because I see there's some new people in the chat as well who've come to the channel. And for those who don't know, Ring was in the army, and he spent some time as an intelligence analyst in the army, and he does an analysis of the attack on the Capitol. Now, I understand maybe people want to move on from that, but I do really think thankful that you did a good analysis. Thankfully, some of the things you feared didn't come true.
Yeah, which I'm very glad that they didn't. But I think part of the reason they didn't come true was because of the increased security presence in Washington. Because they did, in fact, find at least one guy trying to sneak in with a gun and a bunch of ammo.
Yeah. And I mean, and you know, and the thing you got to understand watching that is that coming from that perspective, and this is obviously before the inauguration, that Ring is obviously looking at the possible worst case scenarios that could have happened.
Yeah.
And so you got to take that into context, but I still think that is probably the best video you've done, my friend, sir.
And also, I do have a Teespring and a Patreon, and special thanks to my two patrons, Santi the Sane and PJ Smith. And of course, like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. I am currently 34 subscribers away from the 200 subscriber embarrassing story stream.
You got this, Ring.
Yep.
You're at 167 subscribers now.
Oh.
I think you've gained one. You've gained at least one since we've been on stream.
Well, no, I've gained two because I had it open in another tab and I was kind of keeping eyes on it. But
so we'll get you there.
Next, though, I will say my next edited video will probably just be another Dungeons and Divinity. Kind of keep the nice, happy light fair for now.
Yeah. It's understandable.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and go with taglines.
Think critically.
May all of your stains be large ones.
And remember, indoctrination is a hell of a selfie stick, so don't joke on it.
Have a good day, everybody. See you tonight, hopefully.